Yeah, so good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to uh, all of you who joined today. And I think additional warm welcome to those people who have been joining us for almost every month. I know Sarayu, Sandeep, I'm so glad Vasudev. I think we can add Ravi also to the list because we have had good conversations. So I think thank you for coming. We are very sure that we can run at least that much of quorum we will have to run the webinar. And this is our 23rd webinar, which means we have done close to about 4 years. We are running this, 3.5 years, that we haven't missed any bi-monthly, series. And I think just the sheer people repeatedly coming us is helping us. And it's a very nice way to also let you guys know the kind of work that we do. And if you like the work we do, you obviously can refer us. We get a lot of referrals from the webinar. If not, we at least want to share whatever we think would help the larger audience. So we typically run it from 4 to 5:30. So I typically take 1 hour exact time for my session, and then we have 10-15 minutes for open questions. And feel free to ask anything in between if you have anything like that. But I will have pauses as we go along. Yeah. So I'll just share my screen and I will. So today's topic is account planning and growth, which I think, irrespective of your size of the organization, I think this is helpful for everybody. We should all learn about this, and it is not rocket science, if you ask me. It is fairly simple, but it needs a lot of rigor. It needs a lot of discipline. So, and whatever, as I have said in my earlier webinars also, that we practice everything that we teach you here. So, whatever you're seeing here is actually practiced in crossover. And I would bring a lot of examples of Wipro because, as many of you know, I spent close to about 15 years at Wipro. So a lot of my experiences, the way I shaped my thinking has been from Wipro. And last about 9.5 years with Crossover has been a big influence of Wipro. Yeah. So if you really look at in the way we work, if you look at this slide, there are two axes to this slide. One is the journey of the organization, and the organization I mean is any size of the organization, and other is the success level of the organization. So if you look at it, we hire people from all over the country, and everybody comes with their own mindset. So maybe the way Amita thinks is maybe different than the way Ravi thinks and the way Priyanka or Uma thinks. So each one brings their own thinking, which is natural, and hence there is a variety of thinking coming together. So there is a hybrid culture that created, and this hybrid is not the hybrid that we see after COVID, but they were coming up with different ways of thinking. And you would still run the company. Okay, you will still get result, no problem. But when we do an intervention at Crossover, we look at the way people think, their developmental framework, the way they resist change sometimes, their immunity is to change, and bring in some amount of alignment. So you will see that we still respect individual thinking, but still there is an alignment here, and then there is an aligned culture that gets created, and you get a much more higher goal oriented result than if you were not to do the intervention. And that's the business side of this. And if you look at any organization, you would need three things: you would need customers, you would need talent, you would need execution. So if you look at customer, we have got programs on sale, and one of the today's the topic is about account planning and growth, but this is the program on customers. Then we have a program on talent. So how do you essentially grow talent? How do you use communication as a source of motivation? How do you engage with people? How do you do inspiring career conversation? How do you give and receive feedback? And then last is execution. So many a times, are you just executing to your promise, or are you creating excellence? How much of ownership are you taking? Are you handling your stakeholders well? Are you influencing well? And are you collaborating as you become more bigger and complex? Is there cross silo collaboration happening? And for collaboration to happen, you would need a central purpose. So many a times organizations somehow lose the purpose, or they just forget the purpose. So we want to remind them about that. So we work on purpose, values, is the culture and strategy in sync with an overarching big picture thinking and growth mindset. So you can say this is the overall picture. And then to do that, we've got like all these elements that we have, which is offsite videos, case studies, mentoring, action learning plans. We can think about this as a very holistic approach where we also do a lot of 360-degree assessment of the leaders to find out what people are telling. And from that emerges coaching. And then since we are dealing with human beings, I think we have got the psychological base of Eric Berne, William Marston, and Adlerian psychology. So the participant don't see that, but we actually have a very nice flavor of this inside that. And to do that, I think we have this structured framework that we run for various level within the organization. So I just have a 3 minutes video, and I want to play that video for all of you so that you can you can experience and see what all we offer in a very systematic manner. So let me just quickly go to the video tab, and let me show you the video, which is a 3 minutes video that I would like you all to see to get an idea of the way we work. So this is our website, a very beautifully done website. So you all can take a look at it whenever you get a chance. You can see how we look at our transformation journey of people. We have programs at different levels. We have got programs for sales, 6 months coaching, and we look at leadership at all levels. So I'll just to take you through the 3 minutes video now, so you get an idea of all that we offer. Yeah, this will give a good brief of that, and we'll jump onto our program today. Yeah. So let me just quickly start the video.
Established in 2016, Crossover Leadership Journeys embodies the transformative vision of Yogesh Agiwal, who found developing leaders as his natural quality during his illustrious career in corporate world across the globe. After his recognition by Azim Premji 2 times at Wipro, he moved into the Leadership Development Department of Wipro. He continued to go deeper in his leadership development pursuit and was invited to speak at many international forums, including the Speaker for India at Harvard Business Publishing School Partner Conference, meeting Ken Blanchard, Peter Senge, Nitin Noria, and scores of other leadership coaches. Authors helped him bring world-class leadership practices to India. After creating the impact at Wipro, he decided to create a bigger impact and started Crossover Leadership Journeys in 2016 with a clear vision of holistic leadership development with world-class content, mentoring, and initiatives aligned with business outcomes. Every organization is made of people, and everyone comes with their own experiences and mindset, which creates a hybrid culture. Crossover starts with working on the mindset of people, their immunities to change, and bring an alignment in their thinking. Once the people are aligned, the focus is shifted to customers, talent, and execution using the Custex ecosystem. This ecosystem guides in addressing the unique needs of customers, developing talent to meet customer needs, and executing the project with various elements like offsites, facilitator-led sessions, supervisor involvement, 360-degree assessment, and a strong psychological base. Custex ecosystem is brought to life with our leadership development framework, grounded in empirical research and industry best practices. Our leadership development framework encompasses multifaceted dimensions: self, team, operational, and organizational leadership across the entire organization from level 0 to level 3. There are 4 flagship programs for respective levels, which are customized to suit the unique requirement of our customer organization, catering to the diverse needs of respective levels, covering the entire organization, with topics and competencies for respective levels. The rigor of leadership development does not stop at the journey of leadership, but it continues with our unique initiative called Riyaz. There are many ways of doing Riyaz, like using book reviews or leadership videos or leadership fireside chat. Crossover's unwavering commitment to excellence in leadership development has resonated with organizations across the globe. With a track record of delivering transformative results, we have forged enduring partnerships with over 200 clients, spanning diverse industries and geographies. Join us at Crossover Leadership Journeys and embark on a transformative journey of personalized leadership development tailored to your organization's unique needs. Together, let's work on the landscape of leadership for the ever-changing world and drive unparalleled success and growth in your industry.
Yeah. So this was, I think, so you can explore the website, at your own pace, and we have got like put a lot of stuff. So today we don't use any deck or anything. We always show the website whenever we meet new clients, and these are like amazing webinars that we have been doing for last 3.5 years. All of this is on our website, so you can take a look at topics like change agility, talent magnet, strategy to results, conversation intelligence. And as many of you know that we have a good research team that constantly does research and brings in world-class research into the content. So you will see Judith Glaser's work coming in here, Rory Vadden, Cal Newport, and we just don't copy anybody's work, but take inspiration from their thinking and create our own model around that. Yeah, so you can see all these are very beautiful webinars that you can watch. It as all good models that you can do. So you can see so many. Sometimes we do invite some leaders to come and talk to us on the webinar. So we had Ramesh Dorairaj, who was a very senior person at Mindtree and at Wipro, talking about fine-tuning your sales engine. So we had that. We had invited Ravi Chatterjee, one of our very senior coaches, to come and talk about coaching. So you can see we had done a program on coaching with Ravi Chatterjee. We also did one from storytelling, and this was the last one, which is on the minimalist mindset, which was also very well received because we thought that minimalism can be connected to leadership. It was a very interesting conversation last time. So let's jump on to today's session, account planning and growth. So next about an hour or so, we are at 4:20. So maybe by 5:20, 5:15, I'll finish my part, and then we'll keep 15 minutes, 10 minutes for our question and answer and all that. Yeah. So this is actually a 2-day program that we do for our customers. But today I'm trying to bring in the key elements and also giving you the framework. So you will get a good idea of how you can adopt some of it. Maybe some of it you already are doing it, but area that you think would benefit, you can pick them up from there. So we'll begin with the first part, which is the image of an organization. And many a times there is an image that we desire, and then there is an image that the customer perceives it. Now, if these two are not in sync, while the customer may not say things to you, but somewhere down the line, he would not be confident to make you a very long-term partner. And when I say this, many times it is not that anybody does anything intentionally, but we have to start paying attention to what is my desired image that I am, wanting my clients to think about, and what is my perceived image, and what all the things that would help us to do that. And as I keep saying that, I spent a lot of years in Wipro. So Wipro's image was, if you see, was quite a simple company. If you look at the way you look at a Wipro leader, you would not see a lot of flamboyancy, in Wipro's leadership. If you see, and to a large extent, it came also from our chairman. So if you see, Premji for many, many years would not really drive in a very fancy car. He would drive a Corolla car. And I remember one instance, and that was, known to all of us. And that is how I think we learned also that, once Premji was there in US, and I think the account manager that thought that, let me, hire a very expensive car to pick up Premji from the airport. And when Premji sat in the car, he said, is this your car? And he said, no, I rented this today for you. And Premji said that, why do you want to rent such expensive cars? Because all the costs that we will add here will actually get added to the customer's billing, because I don't think anybody will have any money to pay unless the customer pays us. So he said, next time maybe you can bring your own car. I am very happy to drive in the car, because at that time Premji himself was driving a Corolla in India. So he never wanted a Mercedes or a BMW at that point. So the point was that it was a big message to all of us. And when we were with our clients, clients would see through that simplicity, so they would not mind us going to a restaurant which is not very fancy. And I'm not saying that there is nothing wrong in maybe other organization having a different cost structure, having a different lifestyle in front of the customer. That is not the point. The point is that what is the image that you want. So if you want to show that you are a competitively priced organization for the service you're providing, everywhere that image has to start be reflecting. So if you think that you are a thought leader, that is what you want your customer to desire, are those actions aligning with the thought leader? Meaning, how many white papers have you submitted? How many IPs have you registered? How many conferences are you presenting yourself? So a lot of time when I meet some of my clients and I ask this question, what is the image that you want to project? And I see that what they want to project and what they're doing in day-to-day life is not matching. And as we go along in the journey, you will start seeing that there has to be complete alignment in what image you want to create, and you have to think about it. And if you start thinking about it, then you start kind of changing those experiences to your clients. And these are some interesting questions. And since we are getting this recorded, it will be available on our website. So you can maybe play it again. You can pause it at this stage and see for yourself, what is your professional image, what is your desired image, what are some things that the client may not say to you at your face, as I was saying the earlier thing. And then how is your image with the customer adding value to the organizing desired image? So there has to be a complete sync between that. And we have to start thinking about, who are also we targeting as our customers, which means that many a times there is a very big temptation to go after everybody, meaning the moment you get an information, you run after that particular client and industry. So you have to be conscious about that, because when we are looking at account planning and growth, all this have to start coming into your mind, that where am I targeting, who are my customers, is my image matching with the target that I am seeing that I want to target. And when you start doing that, you start seeing that there are broadly three customer centricity model that you can think of, and I want to bring this to your table. And none of this is right or wrong. Okay, all these three can coexist. So for example, when you look at a transactional model, okay, in which the client pretty much knows that what he wants, and he just don't want to spend time doing it himself. So he said, I mean, can you do it at this cost, and which will be much lesser than if I were to hire myself, as a full-time employee. Or, in this geography, I only need like this many people. It's not worth setting up my own setup. So that is transactional. Okay? He's just giving you the work and you're executing, you're getting the payment. Then comes consultative, which means that you start adding, certain expertise of yours. When the client comes to you where he says that, oh, I have this challenge and can you help me do that part? So you may start with transactional and gradually you could move to consultative. Okay. And many a time the entry point could be transactional. The entry point could be consultative also, because somebody has referred to you saying that, oh, go and talk to this organization, they can help you with this area. So you do that. And then as you continuously start working on this, you start becoming part of their overall planning, which means that at Wipro, we had clients who would share with us almost 3 years, 4 years plan, that what are they going to do, and we will start aligning our entire backend accordingly. So the geographies they are going in, the technologies they are going in, the pivot that they are going to do. Now, the same thing you could do in any profession. So, for example, like I know Ravi, me, and there are a couple of other consultants. We are in the space of consulting. So we also, like some of our clients, we are working with them for like 4 or 5 years, which means they have every year they share with us, what are the expansion plans, how many managers are going to get promoted, what is the succession plan, how many they're going to hire. So you start becoming a partner to them, and they are willing to change their organization also sometimes based on our experiences. So we would tell our clients that, oh, you're planning to go in this particular area, but in our experience, we saw that maybe this area, this has been our experience. So they can even reconsider that. Now you're started to see that, when I talked about the image, and what are you projecting? But if you want to get to enterprise level, you can imagine the amount of groundwork you will have to do to get there. Okay, so when you look at account growth, it is not a thing that just people would give you because they like you, but they will like you only because of the work that you will do, and it takes certain step for you to go and reach that stage. And as we go along in the journey, you will see that happening. So when you look at this, I'm going to like take you through a very nice, simple approach on how do we move from a transactional to an enterprise customer model. Yeah, and this is called as the Tito model. And as I was telling you, these are our own creations, from our experience. It's a very practical model. So maybe what I'll do is I'll explain this first, and then I'll unmute, and we can have a little bit of conversation before I go inside this. Yeah, so if you look at this, on the left hand side, you see where you start with the brand image, which I briefly covered, and then you look at CPAC. CPAC is nothing but knowing yourself, knowing your customers, knowing your competitors. So I'll talk about that. So you should know the world of the customer. Because if you only know the world of customer, you will be able to start really doing consultative selling. Then you look at buying influences, which is the third element, which is many a times, when we want to grow our accounts, we don't look at all the people who are going to make decision. We maybe are more close to the user buyer, but there is procurement involved, there is finance involved, there is the sponsor involved. So are you fine tuning your presentation or solution in a way that all these people actually are convinced about your solution? So you might have a great product, but if you don't present your product to the right audience, it will get stuck. And when we look at it, when if you are a person who is responsible for growth in accounts, we'll have to look, and I'll talk about it as we go along. And last is really knowing the style of the customer. And when I say style of the customer, that I'll use a DISC as a framework, and I think some of you may be already familiar with this, but that is like one of the very simplest mechanism to know a customer. And if you know that, then no matter how good your intent is, but if you don't use desk or any other model to know the customer style, the customer might not really like you and want to give you more works. That is there. And then using these four things, can I use the SFND framework? Well, SFND framework is nothing but seed, feed, need, and deed. Seed is what am I seeding in the relationship? Yeah, what am I feeding to my customer? If he has a need, do I have the ability to understand his need properly? And have I delivered what is my deed, which is commitment to deliver? Now, if you use SFND, and I want to, as I was telling you, we use all this in crossover. So, I mean, it has been like what, 8, 9 years, and we haven't missed a single week that we haven't sent our mailer to our database, which means that every week Ridhima is there on the call with me, and maybe earlier I used to do myself, but now we have got a big team. So Ridhima, Soma, Divya, a lot of people are involved in the process now. But every Monday, I think we put together something for our client that can add value to them. And we also measure, how many people have asked to unsubscribe, how many people have said, boss, don't send me the mailer. That's an indicator that they are finding value. And for a very long time, we haven't seen anybody saying, boss, please take me off your mailing list. So the point is, whether the client needs something right now, we don't know. But they for sure know that, oh, these guys are good. I think every week they send something to us. So let me, call them when there is a need. So SFND is a very systematic. So if you do this two parts, you are like building deep relationship with the client, because even if they are not giving, so I've seen people like, recently we got a call from a Mumbai company. I had met him about 2023 January, and today is what, September 2020, year and a half back later. He said that, I mean, I thank you for your weekly mailer. So I knew that whenever I need, I'll call you. So which is like you're building a deep relationship. So even before I got my first work with him, he almost himself telling that was I have been like he feels as if we have been working with him for so many years because he knows that every week there's something coming. And then obviously there are a lot of competitors in the market. Like training itself is a very, very competitive space. Even every HR head who nowadays retires becomes a L&D company, you would say. And there's nothing wrong in that because there is so much of demand, there is so much of need. I was on a webinar with Ankur, our Skillsoft Vice President of Marketing, and just about an hour back, I was myself a participant attending the webinar, and there is huge potential for us like next 10 15 years like India ka time. So but we don't have workforce. There is so much of need for managers, frontline, mid-level, senior leadership. So I think what people are doing is good. I think they but the problem is a lot of those people don't have that rigor. They don't really do that. So then hence it becomes an entry barrier for competition. And then almost you can predict your revenue because you know that these people whom you're sending are your captive audience. So I'll take a pause here. Maybe I'll just also maybe ask Bhavna to unmute all of us so that you could also unmute and kind of share what are your thoughts on this overall framework. What are you thinking about this or anything that you have heard before last 10-15 minutes? Yeah. And usually the first opening batsman takes time. So any thoughts on the Tito model or the perceived image versus the desired image? Yeah, Sandeep, please.
So, from my experience, what I found is there is a certain inflection point at which one comes to know that one has transitioned from being transactional to a consultative account manager or a salesperson when the customer starts calling you and asking for things over and beyond work.
Yes, yes, yes.
That is a signal that the mind share one is occupying is probably now a lot better. And enterprise account management in the old days used to be called large account management.
Yes,
We'll
yes,
talk about the various functions which all need to be leveraged and aligned to make a deal happen. And
yes,
then to make sure that the customer comes back a second time, a third time, and a fourth time.
yes,
Those are
yes.
a couple of observations from my side.
Very nice. Very, very, very nicely put, Sandeep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the mindshare can't come unless we do our groundwork. So for example, even when we are saying feed, right? I think every week now to we are more systematic, so we know there is so much to be shared with the client. But I remember, when we had not so many, we were just starting and we said, what do we share and what can create value for our clients? And that itself was a nice reflection every week to see what am I adding value to my own own creation for my customer. It's like a nice reminder for all of you. So as you go along, and I would look at the CPAC part, which is, I think CPAC is like the acronym for customer, process, application, and competition. So you can look at CPAC like this, and there are four, I think, dimensions here. So you can see know yourself. And I remember, Wipro being such a large organization, many a times we didn't ourselves know that there are so many products, so many processes, so many verticals available. So one of the big things that we would always get trained on is knowing the Wipro environment. So, I mean, we had a big spectrum of people doing a deep engineering work for Microsoft, and the same Wipro providing BPO support when a user calls for a Microsoft product not working. So can you imagine that a deep product that we only created, now our own Wipro employees is supporting them on the same product. Can you imagine the spectrum that we had? Now, if I were to be an account manager of Microsoft, and if I don't leverage all this, and if I don't understand all this, maybe I'm losing out on certain opportunities that we would have. Knowing your customers in deep, so then who are the key players? What are the industry dynamics? And many a times, I give this example from this book called Exponential Organization, where they talk about like Netflix as an example with Blockbuster. So Blockbuster used to be a very popular circulating library in US, and in less than 6 quarters they filed bankruptcy. and Netflix has gone and tried to ask them to buy them out because they saw that customer, meaning the blockbusters customer, were moving to streaming. Yeah. So if they're moving to streaming, then obviously they're not going to come to the circulating library to take the CD or the video cassette. They would want to do streaming. So if I were to be a service provider for Blockbuster, if I'm doing the IT support in India, I should actually now know that I should move to some other place because these people are going to now be, not required to work. Or I could go and talk to Blockbuster saying that we are also seeing this trend that customers are now going to move to streaming. So you might as well start thinking about how you want to leverage so much of 4,800 stores across the country. You may make him like theaters, or you can make whatever you can think, but you'll have to start thinking and selling the real estate much ahead of time and investing that in the streaming business. And knowing your competitor also is very important to keep a tab on where am I working that day. So there's a CPAC, and as I was telling you, can kind of take yourself, pause yourself, see for yourself. And I must tell you that when we run this workshop and there are, we put up this slide and just ask people to reflect on their own company. And I must tell you that in most of the cases, people have been so busy that they have not even known their own companies, which means in the room, there are 15 people and they actually have never spoken to each other. And there are so many opportunities for going and combining the services together and creating something new for themselves. So this is a very important slide to think about. It is not a static slide. This has to be done at least once in 3 months, 2 months to see what am I knowing about myself, my competitor, my customers, and customers' customer. So this was CPAC. And then you look at the buying influences. And as I was saying, there are four buying influences. One is the economic buyer, who gives the final approval. So he's like the sponsor. Now, when you're going and presenting to that particular buyer, your focus has to be very different. It has to be very high level. It has to be something that at that level they should see economic value of that. When you look at a user, how friendly the user finds your product and service. When you look at a technical buyer, who is approving the product, and when you look at the coach who is guiding you to make the sale. So, are you having all these people's alignment in your conversation? Are you ready with the material that you're going to sell? So many a times you might more be, if you're a technical guy, you would be more, aligned to the technical buying influence. But he is not the only guy who will define. So you'll have to look at how do I create that for all the, all the levels. And when we do this exercise in the full day workshop, we also get them to look at and put the deck together for them. Yeah. So this is buying influence. So you saw image, you saw knowing the world of the customer, competitor, customer's customer. You saw the buying influences, and then you look at the customer style, which is, I think, many of you may be familiar with DISC, and this is one of the simplest, I think, framework to understand human behavior. So if you go and search on DISC, you will find lots and lots of material available on the net. So essentially, there are four, types of people that you can categorize, in the world. And this was by William Marston, who used to sit outside a mall and he used to observe, that how are people interacting with each other, and I'll just try to unshare for a minute and just explain that and come back and show that. Yeah. So you all can turn on your cameras. I am also on the camera. So he would sit outside the mall and observe people, and he would see how people are interacting, and he saw that you could broadly see them in four categories, and I always kind of explain this using one example of my personal that so my wife is a C category, somebody who is very number focused, so somebody, so if I want to buy something, say you want to buy a car or a big white good, she would, do like all kinds of analysis, and she would do a pivot and Excel and gather all the data and then make a decision. Okay. So this C type, which is somebody who is very data focused. And I'm somebody, who is like very people focused. So I would generally ask, hey, Sandeep, which car do you have? Corolla. अच्छा कैसे चल रहा है? अच्छा कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. रवि Kadukula, which pen do you have? Corolla also? अरे बढ़िया. And Gurminder, चलो Corolla खरीद लेते. So I'll go third day and buy Corolla. Now imagine a I guy will find the C person like a hurdle. They'll say, boss, I think there is such a resistance to and Ravi and Pranthip are my such a old friend. Why is she not believing my friend? Now over the years I realized that it's not about her believing me. It's about her need for data. Similarly, if you look at D, these are people who are like they don't want to do any additional talk. Like if you go to their office, they will never come to even receive you at the reception. They will quickly finish the job and no question. Like say if I go to Anand, say Ahmedabad or from all the from Hyderabad, they will not even ask me that. Hope your flight was all right, and did you manage to come easily on the job. Now, a I guy is somebody who loves to first, ask about, how was the travel, when was the plan for lunch and all that. So he might misunderstand the DKR, what kind of person he is, like such a ruthless, hopeless guy. Okay, but actually not. D guy is not that they don't care about you. Their preference is to just work, just get the very target focused, very goal focused. And the last is S, which is like people who are very slow. Okay. Now, how do you recognize all that? From the conversation. So, if a customer asks me a question like, when did you start this? How many people do you have? How many customers do you have? How many people you have? Chances are that he's C guy. Okay, somebody who will always ask me about the family side. Who else is the family? Oh, we have a fantastic restaurant here. Can we go and eat this or whatever? Yeah, chances are that he's I. Somebody who's D would be very restless. Meaning, if you go to their office, right, you won't see any picture of their wife or their children. Nothing. It's a very dry office. Not even a water bottle. The water bottle will be like that Bisleri which was bought 2.5 years ago, half filled, and it is there lying with lot of dust. Because they're not interested in water, all that. It's a waste of time for them. And look at the last one, which is S, who are like very, very slow. They will say, "Acha, if Ravi wants to buy Corolla and Shankar wants to buy, maybe Virtue, the Volkswagen, no problem. Kharidna, क्यों लफड़ा चाहिए?" So they are very no conflict people. Now you see for this type, and you can now start thinking in your mind, what is my customer? So if my customer is C, after the meeting, send him all the case studies, reports, data sheets. He'll be happy. If a customer is I, don't send him anything. He will never read. You go next time, talk to him on the lunch break, lunchtime. He will listen to you. If it is D, and if you're writing a mail to D, don't write, good afternoon, how was Ganpati Visarjan, you had Ganpati Cha, Lal Bagh Cha Raja, all that don't write. If you write all that, he'll get very irritated because he has no time for all that Ganpati and festival, nothing. He wants to only get on the job. So there you should write simply, not even good afternoon. Ravi, here is the report you asked for. Thank you. Finish. They would love that. If you're going and meeting a D customer, keep your laptop on, meaning they don't have the patience to let the lap boot. One of the reason I bought MacBook was for D only, because MacBook takes the lowest time for booting. They don't have patience. If the booting is taking time, say, "Bus, next time." They won't be interested to even do that. So you should recognize what is the customer type. Don't book like appointment for a D for like 45 minutes and 1 hour. Never. He will never accept the meeting. 20 minutes, 15 minutes. You can ask little more, but he won't do that part. As people are people, you should budget for 1 hour meeting and 30 minutes for surrounding items. They will feel very offended if you don't ask them about their style. So customer style becomes a very crucial element where people start to connect with you at that level, which means if I am an I and my customer is C, I will have to flex my style to become C. If my customer is D and if I am C, I should flex my style to become D. So, which means that all of us have got all the four styles. There is no problem in that. The question is, can I recognize my customer style can I flex my style? And that is one of the key elements for, and when I'm talking about account planning and growth, it is just not one thing. It is like multiple things that has to come together, which means if you don't have the thing that I spoke about in terms of your own knowing of the customer, consultative thinking, it won't work. So it has to be a combination of all of them, this thing together. Yeah. So I think Akhil has a very interesting question: how to figure out early into the client which category customer falls under. So Akhil, I know we should know as soon as possible, but you should be very mindful and careful in every conversation and in their body language. And so, for example, if a customer comes and receives me at the reception, he is definitely I or S because they are very concerned about you. But if he doesn't come to meet me at the reception, he is most likely a D guy. Okay. If they send on an email, like some flowery terms, like even asking about Ganesh festival or whatever, if say, you are from, say, Delhi and there is so much happening about Kejriwal, for example, and if the guy mentions about Kejriwal or something, then there is a chance that he's I. D has no interest in all this. This is focused on the work. So in one or two interaction, you get a sense of where they're coming from. Even if you're mindful, then you will not do a wrong stuff to them. And Sandeep, I remember one example of my customer. So one of my client was like, his name was Vinny, and he would, like, whenever we used to send him the monthly report, he would always pinpoint, saying that on slide number 7, the defect density was 2.2 and now it is 2.1. अरे बाबा एक point में क्या फर्क पड़ने वाला? But he is like that. But then another customer is Paul. Okay, if I send him that defect density report to Paul, and if I tell him, hey Paul, did you see the report? कौन सा report? He will never even see the report. Okay, he is saying, what is the issue? I said, no issue, sir. I have like worked so hard. So if you are a serious, about 5 days I took to prepare the report, and the customer not even bothered to look at the report. He is I guy. He does not look at any report. So you have to start figuring out and not get very upset. See, if you're a service provider, don't get too excited about your style. Okay, there is no style. If you're a service provider, there is no style. You actually have to blend your style to any style that the customer wants. So in the morning, I am with D guy. In the afternoon, I am like having party with the I guy. In the evening, I am going to the hospital with the S guy to meet his grandmother, for example. Okay. Now it is up to you how deep you want to go in the personal relationship side, but this has got its own merits if you start doing that. Yeah, Sandeep, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share in this context, if the client has a LinkedIn profile,
Yes.
there's now available a very interesting AI tool called Crystal Knows.
Oh, okay, okay. Can you, Ridhima, can you just type it out in the chat? Yeah. Oh, okay.
So it sits as a extension on Chrome, and you can open the client's profile on LinkedIn, and then Crystal Knows will actually do disk profiling based on the complete history of the customer, and will
Lovely.
show you where the customer is in terms of DISC. More than that, it will also give you the words that the customer wants to hear from you in a conversation, do's and don'ts, and also certain email templates based upon the stage of sales in which you are. Negotiation, opening, proposal, closing, discussion. आपको वो email template भी दे देगा. And Crystal Knows gives you 10 profiles with one Gmail ID. And after that, there is a paid plan.
Lovely.
So,
Akhil, you got the answer. Awesome. Brilliant. AI is doing wonders. Yeah, Ravi. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Question for Sandeep then.
Yeah.
So is this driven by your social media profiling, professional media profiling, like say LinkedIn has its own ways to track what you have been up to?
yes.
But if it is based on that, then the AI engines are really working at everything that you put up there, or somebody has put it up for you. So that could be quite dangerous if somebody is like me who does all kinds of hanky-panky all over the place.
Well, the best way to test it, Ravi, is to look at your own profile on LinkedIn, and that way you know how effectively the engine is working. and
Yes.
then you apply it, but you also do what Yogesh ji said, that observational intelligence.
Yes.
There
Yes.
is no greater intelligence than observational and conversational intelligence. So,
Yes. Yes.
Crystal Knows gives you a mental picture before you go into the cabin of the client. But
Yes.
you
Yes.
also need to validate it. And
Yes.
you're absolutely right. It picks up all of the aspects on social media. What
Yes.
happens is we all build up a lot of history on social media over a period of time. So
Yes.
they have these crawler kind of agents which will look at everything that we've done and
Yes.
based on that create a profile. And when you look at your own profile, it's uncanny how accurate that profile is. Absolutely uncanny. So you can test it out. Back to you, Yogesh ji.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. Thank you, Sandeep, for this information. And
Welcome, sir.
I don't know if you guys have started to read this book called Nexus. So this is a very latest book by Yuval Harari, who is one of our champion writers from Israel. Fantastic. You can listen to him also. He's like talked about Stone Age to AI. It's a fantastic journey. You should listen to him also, and he brings in where Ravi said it's dangerous. Yes, it is actually. So AI can start creating a lot of things that can be dangerous because they have started to think on the data that they're getting. But what Sandeep said is that if you can try and monitor that, then it's really a great help for all of us, including we use AI now to draft our weekly mailers, and we see how beautiful AI can help us in making the same mailer so crisp, so nice, so action oriented. So it's lovely. If you start using that part. Yeah. So thank you so much. And I think as we move forward, so this I hope you guys are enjoying, and you can also apply that to your family. So after the my knowledge about so I'm never now upset with my wife because she's C, right, which means that when we go to a mall and if we are going for lunch, the moment she enters the food court, she will start seeing कि अच्छा अगर ये थाली 75 का है एंड अला कार्टे में 42 का नान है एंड 30 का, तो ये तो यही ठीक रहेगा. Now she is not like miser or something like that, yeah, but the moment she sees number वो दिमाग चलता है. तो what I do is if you want to eat at 1:30, I'll say आप 1 बजे आप जाओ food court, I'll come at 1:30, which means let her do her calculation and then you go. So if you then have people who are like a D type, right? So they will just simply go to the lowest queue counter in the food court. They would not bother about, and if it is I, then they will say, "Arey, last week we had this Chinese, this week we'll have the Italian and all that." Yeah. So imagine D guy getting a waste of time thinking about Italian and like, फटाफट खा के चलो back. Yeah. And S will say, "Boss, if you want to eat Italian, you eat Italian. Let him eat Chinese." Now, why are you having this conflict right now? So you can imagine in the same food court, if you are a family and you can see how people now start having different, like especially in the marriages, you will see the D uncle, who is always upset because your tea is not getting on time. So you can see how the D can react to the situation. Yeah, Prashant, please. Yeah, Prashant, I think you can.
Very
Yeah.
interesting thoughts. I just had one thing to say, Yogesh.
Yeah.
When we are having a conversation with people, of course, identifying somebody's style in the first meet itself could be difficult, but
Yes.
however, observation is the key. But also, probably should focus on how they are making us feel.
Yes. Yes.
Give us great insight on identifying other style. That's what I have
Yeah.
to.
No, absolutely. I mean, and these all are like not to, you would say, I would say that, get upset with anything. You're using this. In fact, I feel that, Prashant, that after I've learned this, I never get upset with any customer, which means I know that the guy will never ask me for how was my travel. I'm prepared for that. I know that I should book a meeting at 12 o'clock because 12:30, if you just ask him, "Sir, what's your plan for lunch?" Immediately he'll come for lunch. Yeah, if you're going for S, book a meeting at 5:30, the last meeting, which means you can spend time till 7 o'clock with him. So you're basically, planning your entire journey with the customer, knowing the style of the customer and with the buying influences that you saw, right? So each of them, so you're like constantly very mindful to observe and do that part. Yeah. So Now using CPAC, using buying influences, using customer style, what more can you do to grow your account? What is your current rhythm and approach to growing your account? These are some nice questions to think about, when you go back and think about this, in your own setup, like how are you like currently planning? So maybe there could be certain ways you are doing it, and we just want to start looking at it. How do you want to use it? And I kind of hinted in the main model there, which is SFND, which is a fantastic way to constantly be in touch with the client. So you start with the first, meaning the foundation for the future, meaning what are you in sowing for the future? And that means many things. Okay, being available to the client, going little bit beyond in the relationship. So I have got, like, I mean, one of my recent customers, daughter is getting, I think there is a matrimonial proposal for somebody in Amazon Hyderabad. Now, how does she know she is actually, she is a Muslim customer? Now, but she asked me that, do you know somebody in Amazon Hyderabad? Because I want to just do maybe a check on how the boy is and all that. And how does he know that? Because when I was with this customer in Delhi, I told her that for last 17 years, I have been going to Qadir Ali Beg Foundation's play. Qadir Ali Beg Foundation is also a Muslim actor and very, very profound actor. And now what you're doing is, when I'm in Delhi and if the next week I'm meeting her, the previous week I was in Qadir Ali Beg Foundation, consciously bring this topic to the client, and not with the interest that you want to have to ask about the material in future, but that is how they start connecting with you. So being very mindful about what are you sharing with the customer. And sometimes it so happens that when people ask me that, oh, you're really having a great time in your life doing so many plays, yeah, movie, music, the customer is also sharing from their side. So I came to know about Qadir Ali Beg Foundation also from some of the flyers, but also from people like these customers. So what are you sowing for the future? So how customers connected to you? And feeding, I spoke to you about the example of we feeding, every week with our only even doing this webinar is like a feed, right? We have got like 45, 50 people joining us, every month. So we have almost like, so many, close to like say 1,200 people have heard our work, which is a great way to feed and grow your account. So with your, at least the key accounts, you have to ensure that you're constantly in their mind share. Third is need, which is, and I'm going to talk about the consultative part in a bit, which is sometimes, the customer might just give you certain needs, but actually your ability to find out some of the implicit needs. The explicit is okay. There is an RFI, there is a request for requirements. But then I must tell you one very interesting story of a client where they came to me about 3 years ago saying that, can you do a one-day program on customer centricity? I said, why do you want to do that? Do you have any issues with the customer? What is the current feedback? And we were like talking about to them about all that. And they said, no, we want to grow the account. And I said that, what's your observation that, how good they are bonded with their clients? And they said, can you give us some time to figure that out? And we realized that many of them didn't have that great bond with the customer, which means they should first do emotional intelligence for customers. So we added one day for that. Then I asked them that, how much do they know about the world of the customer? And I mean, if I were to do a dipstick, will they know about the customer's customer, about their competitors, about your own organization? They said, I'm not very sure. So I said, we should do a program on knowing the world of the customer, 2 days. Then I said, their ability to present their solution in a very assertive manner, and also talking about solutions that are currently not there. How do you think about that? They said, no. At the third day, consultative mindset. Then you said, how are they really organized, about their own time? Meaning, when a customer calls, so for example, if Gurminder and me are, or maybe Ridhima is asking for my time, how organized I am so that Ridhima can quickly tell next day's time, not like next Thursday. Yeah. Unless I'm traveling or something. So then, which is the way you're organizing. So if you're organizing well, not only for your customers, but internally, you will be able to meet. So then there is the fourth day. Like that, I kept kind of doing a consultative conversation. So can you imagine that 1 day program became a 10-day program, including negotiation, executive presence, C-suite presentation, persuasion. Yeah. And then obviously this has been 3 years. We have run about 5 batches, and this year we're running the sixth and seventh batch. So the point I want to drive is, if I had not done those conversation, if I had not taken out the implicit needs, and not that I was doing that more to get any more business. I was doing that to really find out, why do you even want to do this program? What is the concern that they're having? And if I had just done 1 day program, they would not have grown the account. So with that 10 day, they could start seeing the shift in the way they were managing customers and how their organization is growing. And then finally, I think I might talk great thing about whatever in the conversation, but am I delivering to promise? And many a times, and I must say that in sales, I think people get too excited about getting new logos, but they don't care about the logos that they have. And I mean, I want to really remind all of you is that, see, if you really look at spending your time on new logos, and I'm not saying that we should not, but not at the cost of existing customers, because if you keep your existing customers happy, you will actually not need to do any effort on adding logos, because these are the people who will go and become your ambassador to tell more people in the world कि यार इनके पास जाओ अच्छा काम करते हैं. So deliver for growth is, have you ensured that whatever you are actually promised, are you delivering to the customer? Yeah. So these are very powerful. SFND, easy to remember. You can play the recording again and start thinking about yourself, that which are those customers where I quickly just said, okay, and I sometimes give the example of my son was getting married, and we have, I mean, there are a couple of Manyavar stores, in Hyderabad, but we always love to go to one store where the salesman name is Vinay, and I always use his example. When we first went there, just to buy, one wedding dress for Akash, and I mean, he so beautifully kind of sold us at least 6 dresses in that same meeting. He started asking us question like, "Sir, आपका क्या plan है पहनने का on that day?" Asking my wife that, मान्यवर का एक नया branch है मोहे करके, where you got a lot of this, women thing that you want to do. Yeah, what's the plan for your shoes? Have you thought about that? What do you? So ऐसे करते करते, he in fact went to, how many people are coming from outside? Are there somebody coming from US? Just check with them if they want to do something. I can plan for do a Zoom call with them, show them. So that what was happening is that I think so beautifully, I would anyway would have bought all that. I'm not denying that. Okay. But for him to remind us at that day, ensuring that in our visit, we have covered all the aspect was so fantastic. I mean, I have given so many people Vinay's number that was go and talk for your wedding needs. This guy is fantastic. Will save your time. He will not push unnecessary product to you, but whatever he will remind you. Sir, इसके बारे में आपने सोचा है क्या? Have you thought about this? And that is what is the consultant's knowledge. And since he's been in the space, he so beautifully knows that I think getting an Indian wedding done is such a tiring journey, and he has tried to make our tiredness take care so beautifully by very systematically reminding. And the way he would have the conversation, he would not even know that 3 hours, 4 hours have passed in his shop, and we are still enjoying the conversation, because one after another he will keep asking us the question and keeping us engaged. Yeah. So as you can see, that this is very powerful. So if you look at this slide, I think processes will change, technology will change, but what will not change is people and relationships. So you have to be always mindful about that what is the relationship you are building with your clients, and that makes a big difference to the client, because I have had situation where this client I was talking about was in another retail industry, and now she's gone into aviation. And so beautifully, we have been staying in touch, because now she's in a very different process technology, but the same relationship is making us to continue to work with this. And as we go along in this journey, this is a very beautiful model called the consultative model called READ. And if you'll observe, there are two parts to this. One is the external part, and this one is the internal part. And I know I'm doing a little bit of solo right now because we are at five, and I want to like finish in next 10-15 minutes. But you can see the roots are below and the fruits are above. And the roots are the internal systems and processes, which means that, and I'm like giving you a lot of crossover examples because, if you don't have your internal systems robust, you will never see the fruits on the top. And many times there is a big disconnect between what some of us are telling our customers and what our systems are providing. And I'm not saying that we should blame anybody. I think everybody in the organization comes with a plan to contribute. But somewhere I think there is a gap between what you're seeing in the root and what is there above on the root. And it's called as the READ model. And READ again stands for recognizing the needs. So you saw that in some of my conversation that how do you recognize the need, how do you engage with the client, and engage with the client does not mean always being nice. Okay, so we had a recent customer who was like wanting to do a sales program, and I was very keen on doing the growth mindset for the sales team. They were into manufacturing and selling to a lot of distributors, and I said, boss, unless you do the mindset shift, I think no matter how much I teach them the sales techniques, it won't work. And I want to just quickly show you this dialogue, slide where I mean I kind of met this customer. I opened the context saying that yeah, you wanted to start this program. How many people? How many geographies? All that we spoke about, yeah. And then he was saying, "नहीं नहीं यार मुझे नहीं चाहिए. I don't want growth mindset. Simply do the sales program." And I kept asserting to that with listening and yet probing. I said that how many, of these customers really, think about 2-3 years down the line for the customers. Yes, I didn't really continue to agree to what that, but I discussed with assertiveness. I clarified with assertiveness, which means I gave him a lot of examples, a lot of instances where we had benefited by adding the growth mindset before the sales program. And finally, I was able to convince that. So if you close and summarize, so here is where sometimes there is certain amount of fear in our mind that यार अगर बहुत करूंगा तो maybe this customer might go to somebody else. That's the fear we as a service so have that in our, but my experience has been that if you're convinced about your solution, if you're convinced about that it has helped 15 more customers, don't get too worried about continuing to assert. And I must tell you that eventually, when we did the first batch and the feedback was astounding, we did 7 more batches. So the point is that we should be convinced, and because see, it's not client's fault also, because the client has, the service provider has been agreeing to the client's point the moment he had said. And many times we have our own earlier notion that customer Bhagwan hai, and we have to just agree. So which he is a god, I know, because our payroll runs because of him. But you are the consultant. You are the person who knows your subject. So you will have to start asserting that. So once you do this, then you activate your internal systems and you deliver to your promise. So this is a very beautiful READ model, which I think can help us become a trusted delivery partner or a trusted, and then you can see by now, right? If you do all this so nicely, there is no question that a customer will give any work to anybody else, which means you should activate nicely. You can tell all the team that you are contextualizing to what the requirement is. You are ensuring all inputs are met. You are reflecting on value creation with everybody. Like jointly, only we can create. We can't create with any other way. And then finally, you are assigning key resources, to achieve that part. And then I think after doing all that, are we authentic to our brand promise? And that is a very key thing, because there will be times when a client want to make a shortcut, or you have made a mistake and you think that if I tell the truth to a customer, maybe he will possibly discontinue my job. And I think this is where I think it's like an acid test for all of you. And I remember one case where I think it was an IT company, and they had like given the password to a very junior person, and all the systems started bombing, and the customer called the service provider and say, "Yaar, kya ho gaya? How come all these systems are in?" That was a point. If I were to do this one-day program, I asked this question to the participant: if you were in their place, what would you do? Would you tell the customer that we shared the password, or will you tell the customer some other reason? And most people in the class tell me, sir, if we, and there is a big penalty if you tell, if you tell that you have shared the password, because that is not as per the agreement. And most people say, no, we will not say that. And that is where I think in a real life case scenario, the same person who was asked to go because he shared the password joined the same customer after 2 years. And he told the customer, sir, 2 years back when there was an outage, I was the person in that company who had shared the password. Now imagine this was a multi-million-dollar deal that got discontinued because they realized that this customer service provider is not authentic. Now there was a chance that if they had shared at that time, maybe they would have again got discontinued. We don't know, but the chances are that if you tell the truth to the client, maybe the client will go and talk to the board, talk to the higher ups, and get some permission from them to continue, because they say that, I mean, this service provider, mistakes happen with every human being, but this is a service provider who actually told us the truth. So which means that you have to constantly be, and I'm bringing this topic from an account growth perspective. Imagine if you lose any customer because you're not authentic, versus the same guy who's experiencing going and telling 15 more people. So my stress always has been that make your customers as your brand ambassadors with all that you have learned. So which means whatever you have learned from CPAC to buying influences to customer style to read model, all that ultimately has to be on the basis of authentic. And this is a very beautiful trust equation that I think I recommend everybody to read this book called The Trusted Advisor, which means it has a very beautiful formula: credibility, reliability, and intimacy. So credibility is your degrees, your domain knowledge. Reliability is, so I might be a great, maybe facilitator, and I've got like 12 certification, but every webinar I only log in like 3-4 minutes after you guys log in. Reliability is not great, meaning sometimes it comes and then it comes late. Maybe there would be some of you start losing trust on this webinar, for example, a very simple example. So coming on time, honoring the commitment is the second part. And third is how close are you with the customer? So you might be great in your product knowledge domain, but if you're not reliable, on the other hand, you're a good reliable person, but you have not really upgraded yourself to that knowledge. So any of these two, if you have a reduction, you will have an impact on the trust. And the last is self-orientation, which means that assuming that I invite all of you, to Hyderabad, then you say, "Chalo yaar, ek Diwali ka party karte hain, and we'll do biryani, party." And for 2.5 hours, Ravi has come all the way from Bombay, and मैं मेरा ही बात कर रहा हूँ यार, अजीम प्रेम जी का अवार्ड, ये अवार्ड, वो अवार्ड, क्रॉस ओवर, एंड कुछ पूछा ही नहीं. नेक्स्ट टाइम पे रवि को इनवाइट करेंगे तो बोले आने का मन नहीं करेगा रवि का, बोले यार ये खुद की बातें करता है, अपने से तो कुछ बात पूछता नहीं. सेल्फ ओरिएंटेड, यू शुड फॉलो ए, एंड आई पर्सनली फॉलो 80-20 रूल, मीनिंग व्हेन आई एम विद द कस्टमर I only speak 20%. I let the customer speak 80%, which means for a new customer, you have to build your credibility, no question about that. But once you build the credibility, listen from the customer. Don't talk about and I'm talking about those questions which we talked about. The need is required, but not boasting about yourself for too much of time. Because the moment you boast too much, your trust goes down. They're beautiful, and you can read this book to get there. So finally, we are coming to this stage where essentially we are saying that I think if you start using the read model and you start kind of looking at each of those aspects, you can see how you can influence through trust and start moving from where you are to what you want to do, covering all the aspects that you're seeing on the screen. And the last part is that I think we cannot do this all alone, which means at Crossover, as I give an example, the entire team has to be aligned with what you're doing. Yeah. So if you look at this last slide, which is the SAKE model, for the sake of building customer setting team, your team has to have technical and people skill, no question about that. So now, recently we became the Skillsoft channel partner, and we all are going through Skillsoft programs now, which means our people have to have people skill, technical skill. They should have great attitude, which means that there will be times when client is asking something which is not part of our daily routine. Yeah, maybe it is coming very late night, maybe there is too much of pressure. How are you handling emotionally? Third is your area of the various knowledge of the customer, which means the CPAC and other area that we spoke about. And finally is the experience, meaning every time when you meet a client, whether it is a virtual client or whether it is a in-person client, are you creating the magic? Because today's magic will become mediocrity next year. Meaning, if you look at, that's where a lot of hospitality industries, restaurant don't survive because they're not able to constantly create the magic. So if now we are going to be turning 10 years, and every year or every 2 years we start thinking, what more can we do for a client? And Skillsoft has been this year's very big addition in our experience to the client. And every time when we come, so as basic as me and Ridhima or Gurminder, we would always log in at least 5 minutes before the client comes in. Never ever we have had a situation where the client logged in and we logged in late, for other than there is a technical issue. But from our calendaring angle, which means you are always there to welcome the client, and every minute they come, that's an experience. Yeah, responding to the customer on time. So if you do all that, you will definitely see growth coming in very nicely. Yeah. So I think this was my last slide, and I'll just open for like maybe having a conversation for next 5-10 minutes here at 5:20. I know I did Vande Bharat thoda bahut beech mein, but I had to cover like 2 days content in like less than an hour. So I think I tried my best to do that. But I think 10 minutes we can open up. Yeah, Vellum.
Yeah, can you go to the second or third slide, Yogesh, once?
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
No, from the beginning.
Yeah. From the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the previous. So no, previous. So
this
what? No, this one, previous one.
This one. Okay.
Yes. So what are these deep life relationship, entry barriers or competition, predictable revenues? What are those things?
So what happens is that if you do all this on the left hand side, you will start building deep relations. This is the outcome of all this left side that you're doing here.
Okay.
So you build deep relationship. You have entry barrier for competitor. Matlab, like you have so much that you're doing for the client that no entry. Like we have not lost a single client in last 10 years because we are doing so much that it is very difficult for a competitor to match our rhythm, for example.
Okay.
The good part is that I don't think we are doing anything bigger, but just that others are not doing. So we are actually creating entry barrier. And predictable revenue is pretty much we know. Like, so for example, this client that I spoke about, that 10 days program, every year they do 2 batches. Okay, so they tell us ahead of time, okay, boss, this year 2 batches, these are 3 batches. We are doing, like for one of our Trivandrum client, we are doing the 32nd batch.
Wow.
So pretty much we know, right? 80-70% के कितना कितने batches होने वाले हैं.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bella, you should watch this video again.
Sure, definitely.
I have done one NASCOM also similar, but there I had 2.5 hours. So
Yeah.
that recording also there. So if you want to see me in suit and boot, it is there in that also. Yeah.
Sure.
But I'm very passionate about this topic. So if you also want to talk to me, and we haven't pasted the. I think today we forgot to paste the Leadership Chaska WhatsApp.
No, we did that.
Oh, you did that? Okay, perfect. So you guys can join the link so that Leadership Chaska you will for next 1 month. Rajula is going to or Yogini is going to post certain posts on that group for next 6 to 8 weeks so that you can stay engaged in the conversation, ask any question you may have. And if you think that you want us to do this program for your company, more than welcome. So shamelessly, I'm asking for work, but I think you can please refer to us wherever you see that there is something that we can help our clients. And with Skillsoft coming in, I think the scalability is gone to a very next level. So please feel free to refer us, tell us. Ridhima is the point of contact for anything on sales, so you
Sure,
can
sir. Sure.
you can ask her. Yeah. So any other questions? Anything that you want to share? Any reflections? कैसा लगा आप लोग को ये particular model or whatever you want to share? You know. I know Sandeep has been always a great, supporter, and he summarized also so nicely. So, anybody, yeah, would like to share, Sarayu, or
So a couple of points from my side, Yogesh ji.
yes,
First of all, great seminar. I especially like how you coin these wonderful acronyms which have deep meanings to them.
yes, yes, yes,
That's a very, very unique skill.
yes, yes,
In all the years that I was in sales and marketing, one of the realizations I got very early on was after signing a deal, you have to back it up with very robust and deep delivery expertise and own the outcomes.
yes,
Now,
yes,
what I would notice is that the salesperson would disappear like a shot after winning the deal.
yes,
And there would be no one to take the accountability of the client. And
yes,
accountability
yes,
of the client has to be with the account manager.
yes, yes,
So, in the mind, if the account manager held himself or herself responsible for the outcome,
yes, yes,
backed by the delivery expertise, then that usually led to a repeat order. And the
yes,
holy grail of business is the second time you get the order and the third time and so on. First time तो कोई भी बेच के चले जाएगा.
yes, yes,
But customer loyalty is the holy grail. And
yes,
everything that you said kind of points towards that customer loyalty, because
yes,
you cannot build a relationship unless delivery expertise has been solid.
yes,
Only
yes,
then will the relationship happen.
yes,
So
yes.
a great session. And like I said, all of those formative models are very interesting. Thank you.
Yes, yes. In fact, I tell Sandeep that, I mean, we have had situation like, I know Amita joined us after like 15 years of our session. So some of these really stays with the participant very nicely. I mean, I tell people that just print that one or two slides of the model, and just reflect once in 15 days कि हम लोग कर रहे हैं क्या. So I always say that, account growth is not actually, difficult. It's just that you have to start practicing it. And that is where the rigor has to be there. मतलब cadence होना चाहिए, reviews होना चाहिए, and I know Ridhima and Gurminder are here with me, so maybe if they want to add something of our rigor at crossover. I mean, from a size wise, we are not very big, but we follow the big boys. Yeah, Ridhima, Gurminder, anything you want to share? And Shankar also has unmuted, so.
So one of the feedbacks I had the pleasure of attending the NASCOM session you had.
Yes, yes, yes.
This one was a nice capsule. And since that session, I also realized that some of what you say, the simple things that you do,
Yes,
mentioned holding a customer, it's not only
yes,
having a customer, but holding him.
yes,
Rhythm of, when you know that it's a Monday, there's a message that comes in, there's a contact, there's a connect,
yes, yes,
cadence of the entire, all that makes a big difference. And also
yes, yes,
propagate in all the ways. And I
yes.
do my to-do list. I also realized this is better to put this through. There is a gig I did some time ago. I haven't got the money for that. And I realized that this is important to schedule this entire reminders in a way that it's top of the mind. So I guess the
Yeah.
way you do it, great learnings for all of us. Thank you so much.
Yes, very nice. Thank you, Shankar, for the clap. Yeah. So Gurminder, Sridhima, another 2-3 minutes, and we are at 5:26. 3 minutes में बंद करना है. So I think you want to share your experience of your cadence that we follow. Yeah.
So I would say that we have been following this, since many years now, and we really have seen the impact. So I guess one keeps following this, and I'm sure you'll get the results to see. So this is one of the most impactful module. In fact, all the modules what we have, there is a real outcome, what you can see. But
Yes.
of course, when you keep following the SND framework, the CPAC model and everything, trust me, you will see results behind it.
Yes, yes. And one last thing that, I think ज़्यादा life में tension नहीं लेना है. मतलब in the sense, you have to enjoy the journey also. Like with the clients, I very often get this, comment that यार आपके साथ मिलके ना थोड़ा शांति मिलता है. मतलब so it is basically they enjoy the time with you. So it is not always about business also. मतलब I mean you have to have your own skill of knowledge and domain, no doubt about it. But हमेशा दिमाग में ये मत रखो कि यार मुझे business ही लाना है. also treat the customer as a fellow human being, meaning get to understand them and help them. I mean, in like last, I mean, within my time, whenever if somebody send me a message, I've always responded to them. I've always helped them. अपने जितने contact, and it has got a very far-fetching effect, because if you help your customer, and if you go on the spiritual side, जो बोओगे वो पाओगे type, not वो पाने के लिए नहीं बोने का है, but बोते रहने का है type, so you'll get that, yeah. So good, thank you so much. I think we are at 5:30, and thank you all of you for typically webinar का एक वो होता है, मतलब if people are there for hour and a half, I think the number that joined in, and if you have 60-70%, it's a great number. Otherwise, typically webinar में 50% drop हो जाते हैं by the time you're at the end. So we are fairly 38 people is a very good number to have. So thank you so much, and enjoy the practice of all this, as Sandeep said, the acronym and all that. And on the Leadership Chaska group, if you click on this, you will be able to join that. So you will definitely get the weekly messages from Yogini. Very nice articles, videos that you can. I know Professor Sandeep engages with us quite often. Vasudev also, I've seen him responding. So it's a very nice way to remind also until the next webinar. Yeah, and like that you will keep getting some and will. I think it's been a while I've invited a speaker, so maybe next webinar I invite some of the speakers to come and talk to you. So till then, thank you so much, and have a nice evening. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Had
you,
an
Nilesh.
insightful session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know, and we had a good time. कहाँ 1.5 घंटा चला गया पता ही नहीं चला. Okay,
Hi, thank you.
bye.